Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee and certified mentor with over 11 years of experience and 1,300 matches under my belt. You can find me at refsneedlove2.com, on Insta, TikTok, and now YouTube. Today, I am joined by Skye Eddy. No relation to U.S. Soccer's Rick Eddy. Skye is the founder of Soccer Parenting and the Sideline Project, aimed at engaging parents to make youth sports better. Skye is a sought-after speaker for parents, coaches, clubs, and players. A former professional player, she was a collegiate athlete, a youth All-American goalkeeper, defensive MVP of the NCAA Final Four, and a state champion track athlete. Skye has coached extensively at the grassroots, youth, and collegiate level. She's an MBA graduate from the University of Richmond. Go Spiders, I think. Skye has earned her USFB license, the National Goalkeeper license, which is amazing, and a coach educator for U.S. Soccer and United Soccer Coaches. Welcome to the pod, Skye Eddy.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be there. That sounded like a very long bio. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Oh, no, I'm thrilled to have this conversation. I'm so glad that we can be together today. This is obviously, parents make up a big part of the grassroots reality for referees everywhere. So this is a great conversation to have. As a former NCAA athlete and coach at the collegiate level, did you ever anticipate that parent education would be your mission?
Oh, I guess I had a question or a frame of that question, like, what are you doing? Or thank you for doing this. Why did you do this? Like, I get that line of question a lot. And you know what? I have to say with complete clarity, I feel like I'm doing exactly what I'm intended to do with my life. Well, maybe when I was playing, I didn't. But from a very early stage in my coaching, randomly, I was like the one doing the parent meetings at number one camps when I was 19 years old. So there was this natural inclination or affinity for connecting with parents around the child sporting experience, for sure.
I feel like I've read in your bio as well that you've also, I guess this was before you had your own kids, but you've been a parent with your own kids going through the sporting life as well, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I have two children. My daughter's now 24 and works at the Crew, a Columbus Crew. And my son is just going into a senior year in college. So yeah, I mean, my experiences, of course, everything sort of lined up perfectly in starting this business. And my daughter was just going into more of paid coaching situation. And I just started to peel back the layers and get curious, and also realized that this was a big problem, that parents were an issue in a lot of different areas. Parents, I don't believe, are necessarily a problem themselves, but how they're treated is, how they show up is sometimes. And so it was something that I just got really curious about and decided to start to just write about it. And then that turned into Soccer Parenting, which I launched in 2018.
That's amazing. I love your goal. I mean, this is really, unfortunately, I'm always like it. And again, maybe this is just me trying to cut through all of the noise and get to something that I think a lot of referees feel is like, parents, please shut up, just shut up. But your goal, very different. Your goal is to elevate the game and enhance every child's experience. That is like really powerful words. Help me understand what that means. Elevate the game and enhance every child's experience. Because we're talking about soccer parenting. So what does that mean? What changes have you seen since you've started this business?
Yeah, so really foundation to our work is empowering parents. And interestingly, you're right, that can be a confusing statement for somebody that is perceiving our work to be, oh my gosh, we don't want to give parents any more power. If anything, parents need less power. There's an easy way to look at the word empowering around that. And in fact, what we want to do is help parents understand the power that they have to ensure that their child has a successful experience. And we believe that parents will be difference makers when it comes to improving the game. They just haven't been properly educated and supported, and we don't have trust. That's what I would say to answer your question about one of the key things that we've seen that's changed is that in a really powerful way, we're starting to move the needle. And that's demonstrative to us at Soccer Parenting, and the fact that more and more clubs are requiring our courses of parents instead of just offering our work as an option for parents if they want it. So we're really seeing a wonderful movement towards parent education, which we know will, establish trust within the ecosystem, which is what we need, right? From the bottom up. I mean, from the very beginning, I've been talking about trust. That was the first thing I talked about. Referees have been part of this conversation from the beginning. There's just such a pervasive lack of trust from the bottom up, from the grassroots parents' trust of a referee to the top down for our trust in FIFA, or in your case, IFAB, or whichever organizing body. I don't know. Referees fall under. I apologize. Sorry, referees.
All good.
But this is it. Like, we need to have open conversations, and we need to start to bring everyone together. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring everyone together.
Yeah, it's so interesting you talk about that. I mean, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, and is a big part of what you guys do. But that it's a common refrain that you hear that parents are the worst part of youth sport. Parents are the worst part, right? It's said so often. People say that, but then what do you do about it? Because you can't not have parents involved in youth sports. You got to have parents involved in these sports. But and I'm so glad you do what you do, because there's really not a lot of people out there teaching parents how to be a parent at a youth sporting event, like how to have a relationship with a coach, how to be a good participant on the sideline. Yeah. And I think you're really filling an important gap that's out there. I wanted to ask you about, because we get it a lot, like actual on the sideline. So, as a referee, we're out there in the middle of the pitch, and sometimes there are calm and respectful parents, and sometimes there's not. Can you describe the concept of what you see as kind of a level-headed parent, the kind of people that you're trying to grow, and contrast that with like the crazy parent, that one who's just like yelling and like into every single kick of the ball or whatever it might be? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I definitely will. I like to kind of talk about the dynamic of the crazy soccer parent. So you all as referees experience this, and really I should connect more with referee groups, because I think that, the narrative of the conversation is really important. But I will say that we believe that crazy soccer parents have ruined it for everyone, because the crazy soccer parent, which, by the way, is much less than what a referee would perceive, because what the referees are running into is they're running into distracting parents that are really stressed. They're running into because of the structure that a child really should not necessarily be competing in. And the parent is trying to live in the middle of this structure that is really stressful for their child, and try to mediate that and support their child. And then we are met with a situation where these distracting parents kind of become hostile. But the really irrational, crazy soccer parent is what we refer to them. I'm kind of like air quoting that it probably makes up 4 or 5% of the population. I can hear the referees now. No way. But it's probably 1 or 2 parents that are getting it going on the sideline. And then maybe some of the distracting parents in the moment are kind of catching on. So the crazy soccer parents have ruined it, because referees are leaving the game because of them. Coaches are leaving the game because of them. And the vast majority of parents, which are the level-headed parents, are feeling like they don't have a role, because the last thing they want to do is be perceived as a crazy parent. So they don't speak up. They don't have a voice. They don't get engaged. They don't seek education, because it's so confusing. Like, oh, wait, if I seek education and I'm curious about my child's experience, does that mean I'm a helicopter parent? I don't want to be that. So I'm not going to receive some education that actually is really foundational to me being a successful parent. And so we really look at the crazy soccer parent as like the adversary, if you will, in the whole storyline of the work that we're doing at Soccer Parenting. What we're trying to do is give the level-headed parents a voice, so the majority of parents can rise up and take back the sidelines and give youth sports back to the children.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. I mean, I could tell you, think everyone listening to this pod, well, most people, if you've had kids, you've been on that sideline, and maybe you've tried to be, you are that level-headed parent, but there's that crazy lunatic parent, and they're on the same team. Literally, their kid plays on your team. I will tell you, when so I lived abroad for a few years. When we came back, we were at like kind of super competitive USDA at that time, and now it's MLS Next. And parents were very quiet there because obviously you don't want to ruin the opportunity for your kid to play on this very exclusive team. But as soon as we went to academy, quote unquote, right, then like the crazy parents like were present. And we did 1 year on a team like that. And then we moved to another club, and literally the first game, and I've told the story so many times, that the coach came to the parents after the game and like scolded us. It was like, if I ever hear you yell instructions at your kid or yell at the referee, your kid sits. It was like the greatest thing ever. And it changed the dynamic of the team dramatically after that. But as a parent, it feels really awkward to maybe talk to another parent. So having a training that everyone can go to, be like, hey, you remember what, what we talked about or what?
Then we have alignment.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a big deal. So what would be one key habit or mindset shift that parents can adapt immediately to try and positively influence that sideline?
Yeah. So we have a course called the Sideline Project. It's a 15-minute course. And so I would say what our feedback is from that course you would think for a course that's 15 minutes long, so we have a limited amount of time, and we're working with parents, you would imagine that the majority of the course would be around hostile behavior. But in fact, it's around distracting behavior. So I would say the one key thing that parents could learn would be the difference between supportive and distracting behaviors. And if we can end the distracting behaviors, the sidelines immediately become quieter. And then the hostile, crazy parents stand out and seem really crazy, and we can get rid of them because there's no space for those truly hostile parents that are verbally abusing referees, that are verbally abusing children, whether those be children referees or the children on the field. There's no space for these people in youth sports, and we have to get them out of youth sports. Clubs have to stand up. Referees have to start reporting this hostile behavior. We have to rid our sidelines of these hostile parents that are repeat hostile parents. And so that would be the key thing that I would say, is to learn the difference between supportive behaviors and distracting behaviors.
Love that. Love that. I will say I do have a bit of a theory on some of the stuff as to why this happens. And so I know you talk a lot about the dynamic between the coach and the parent. And I think we should get into that too, because I know a lot of coaches listen to this podcast as well. But I feel, especially at the younger age groups, especially, and this goes all age groups, but really younger age groups, smaller field, whatnot, volunteer coaches often, are not highly paid coaches or something of that nature, that sometimes parents are speaking and yelling things because there's a vacuum, right? That they don't necessarily know that the referee is in control of the game or watching the game. And so they're calling out every potential perceived foul. They don't know that the coach is given very specific instruction as to what they want to do. So the parent is trying to be a coach as well. Maybe they've played growing up or something of nature. And so they yell into this vacuum, and they're saying, the pass, kick, shoot, thinking that's helpful, or they're yelling, that's a foul, that's a pull, it's offside or whatever, just to kind of throw that out. And I don't know. I haven't thought my theory all the way out.
There's stress.
It's a thing.
There's stress. Okay. It's parent stress. And so we ask parents a lot about stress. And we're actually seeing some emerging research around stress in parents and the sidelines in the German Bundesliga. Dr. Travis Dorsch from Utah has done a recent article on this. So we're starting to have clarity that parents feel stress and they relieve that stress through distracting behaviors. And so we have to help parents catch themselves, acknowledge that this is happening in the moment. Oh yeah, my heart is racing. Oh yeah, I am feeling like a lot. And I experienced this myself. A big aha moment for me was I went from watching my daughter play a game to on the field next to us, our neighbor was playing. And I went from watching her game to immediately watching our neighbor's game. And I was like, wow, parent, watching my daughter is way different feeling through my heart, through I'm sweating, through, like, even if I'm not speaking, I am internalizing and then I'm going to watch my neighbor next door and I don't feel the same, or the field next door and my next door neighbor. I don't feel the same stress. So like there are these moments, and I think personally, and also small-sided games are really stressful. Kids are not aligned. They're just learning. There's some kids that are well ahead of other children from a movement perspective. We're still narrowing it down and placing kids, if you will, within appropriate training and participation environments. So there might be some children that don't quite fit in to that environment, or your child yesterday played 3 through balls and was like the most incredible player on the field. And today they're horrible because they're 11 and they're not supposed to be consistent. You know, like we just need to have perspective. And I think small-sided, until things narrow down and we get clarity, like, okay, this kind of age and or the level that my child is, and we kind of fall into those categories, there's stress. Okay, we're going from 7v7 to 9v9. So half the kids aren't going to make the team next year because they're combining 2 teams. Is my child going to make it? That's stressful. And that deals with structures. You know, that stress for parents is unfortunate because a lot of our stress is structure driven. And so until we can acknowledge and talk about the structures in ways that are conducive to moving past stress, I don't know that the structures will change. Hopefully, you know, they will. But the other thing you mentioned there, and I don't want to keep going too much on this topic, but you talked about the culture. So you're overseas and the culture, you come back, you go to a bad culture, you then have a coach that is willing and able and educated and supported and confident, and a coach that trusts themselves enough to come over to the sideline to advocate for the children and to set the standards around the knowledge, beliefs, values, behaviors, the culture of the team. So, you know, these are all things that are when we're considering use.
It's massive. It's huge. I do want to, so this is a little off script, Skye. I do apologize. But I one other theory I have as well is the I don't know, called the academization. Is that even a word? I would say professionalization. Yeah. But I'm seeing as a referee that there used to be like high level academy play. And that was very clearly like the best of the best. And now everything seems to be like some type of academy, whether it's EPL, DPL, ECNL, RL, National League, I mean, you name it. The remaining bastion of recreational has gotten so unbelievably small. Every kid now seems to be put into an environment where they're expected to train 4 or 5 days a week, travel to tournaments all across the country, pay thousands upon thousands of dollars for these leagues, and then the coaching on the sideline. Dude, I have to imagine that has played into this situation we're dealing with, right?
Yeah. In many cases, youth soccer is not working. And, you know, what you just amplified through, you know, that's the explanation is that. And we're starting to see pushback. We're starting to see parents that they're saying, no, I don't want to get sucked in to the whole ecosystem. Our family is not going to travel and do that. But it's hard. It's a challenge. My daughter's experiencing that right now. She's coaching in the pre-ECNL. She's coaching, I think, U12 next year. And all of a sudden, she's having to go 2 hours and 6 hours. She's playing her 11-year-old girls that are actually, you know, not even the top team in the club, are traveling 6 hours to play a team in New York. Like, that's within their league for the ECNL Regional League. And you know what? Like, we're getting better in terms of our structures, and that we're getting more and more teams that are involved. So that happening is a fact that there aren't enough teams in some region that the kids are playing in, that they have to travel that far. I think if we can see some consolidation within youth sports, which I'm hopeful that we will see, then we'll see more teams that are falling in the same leagues. We just need less leagues so that there's less travel.
But if you have less leagues, then there's those people at the top aren't going to get the money. That's the thing. They create all these different offshoot breakout leagues because someone, you know, wants to build a league and be getting, you know, money from that. If there's less leagues, there's less opportunities for that. But I digress. I'm sorry.
Is soccer for children or are children for soccer? And that's how I
I
start
love
many
that.
of my talks.
Wait, say that one more
You
time.
know?
Is it soccer for children or children for soccer? That's really interesting.
Yeah. What are we doing here? That's a quote from my friend, Dr. Mark O'Sullivan, who is working in Sweden now. But, I got that kind of from him. And I start a lot of my speaking that I do, my live speaking event, with that premise or with that question, with that curiosity. I think that's where we need to
That's
start.
so cool. I want to talk about how you work with parents and clubs. So I think this is very interesting, Skye, because honestly, it's so needed to have someone outside the club come in and help set boundaries
Yeah.
and just reset, what the right relationship is and right dynamics are. So talk to me about how clubs partner with you, okay? And then also what kind of changes in feedback do you hear when those partnerships are set up? And can you talk about how many clubs you guys partner with? Because you guys are really big. I had no idea how much work you guys are doing.
Yeah, we are building for sure. We have around 175 clubs, probably around 250 partners across the United States between different leagues and state associations and organizations on top of our club partnerships. Our club partnerships are growing weekly. We are hoping, to have 1 to 2 clubs join us every single week across the United States. And we have a sales staff that's out and trying to build those relationships. Our club partnerships, what we do is we provide the clubs with a parent education platform. So every parent within the club and coach and administrator and team manager has access to the soccer parenting membership site. And when you have access, you then have all this education at your fingertips. Many clubs, as I mentioned, are requiring parents take the Sideline Project course, take Winning on Game Day course that we have. So that's our primary means of partnering with clubs. What it is for clubs is it's a tool for engagement. So we believe that parent engagement is an essential step to establishing trust. And obviously the clubs that partner with us are seeking to engage their parents. When clubs engage parents, the research is very clear that there will be kids that stick with sports longer, that are more motivated. The coaches will be more satisfied. The parents will be more empathetic. So we're providing clubs a tool to say, parents, we value you. You have autonomy in our space. Here's an education platform. And then from a parent side, they're receiving education around these key topics that then ultimately we believe will make youth sports better. So a lot of you would think that the majority of my work is around parent education, but in fact, the majority of my work is around coach education related to effective parent engagement, related to establishing trust, setting boundaries, parent engagement, like best practices of parent engagement. So our parent engagement for our coaches course right now, obviously this time of year, just as the seasons are largely kicking off across the United States, is when it's our most popular.
Yeah, I bet. Can you define that a little bit more? You say parent engagement, right? So we're not saying, hey, live through your kid on the field parent engagement. There's other parts of parent engagement. What does a positively engaged parent look like?
Yeah, they are a guiding force of perspective and patience. They understand pathways and have some education around even the confusing nature of what a pathway for a child might look like in the United States. The parent has a little bit of a grip on what that looks like in their region of the country. A level-headed, properly engaged parent, doesn't give power away to the crazy soccer parent. They see and are clear on what a crazy soccer parent is and that they're not that. So they feel like they belong to a group of these level-headed parents. They are acknowledging their stress that they're feeling, and they're finding a way to mitigate, to deal with, to work through that stress that they might be feeling. So an engaged parent is a parent that is curious and is respecting the boundaries of the coach-parent relationship. So the coach-parent relationship is so confusing and has been so undefined because historically what we've done is just like, I'm the coach, you're over there, and there's no engagement. So we really have to go in and teach coaches how to set boundaries and when the door is open and when the door is closed to parents. And so then the coach is clear on what parent engagement looks like too. I mean, parent engagement, to answer your question, is bi-directional, multi-directional. Clubs engage parents with certain strategies. Coaches engage parents with certain strategies, and parents engage themselves and one another with certain strategies.
It's amazing. I have to be honest. I think it's really challenging. Like there's a lot of maybe people who get into like becoming a referee who didn't think about, I need to be a leader. I need to be a communicator. I need to be a facilitator. And the same thing for coaches. Like they might think, oh, I can work with little kids who are 6 years old, 10 years old, 13 years old, right? And feel comfortable in that dynamic. But they also need to be leaders to adults who might be 30, 40 years old, who might be executives themselves or run their own businesses. And they're expecting communication too. And they're expecting to be led or need to be led through this experience. I mean, these are key skills that you're providing that people probably didn't know they needed until they got into it. And to rise up or to build a club or anything, this is such critical information. Oh my God.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I know it does. It's funny. I love seeing you like kind of your chuckle laugh, like, wow, what are we doing here? But also like, we have to acknowledge when we charge parents $3, $5, $6, $10,000 to play for a year, like we're setting the stage for us to have to deliver. And what that looks like doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't necessarily have to be too rigorous in terms of 3 or 4 practices and all. I mean, it doesn't have to be too rigorous, but it has to be quality. And I think that's what our children deserve. Yeah. We deserve quality parents, quality referees, quality sidelines, people that are seeking to do their best.
I 1,000%, 1,000% agree. I do want to talk about, so what would be some things that coaches can do to connect positively with parents? Because I think this is so important. I love this. Honestly, I feel like if there is, and the reason why I'm so interested in this, Skye, because I feel like if there's a coach who has a good relationship with the parents in this, creating this positive environment with parents, that you would have less issues from parents to referees, right? Like I see this, it's all like one big ecosystem. So what's some advice that you would give to coaches to help set this positive relationship with the parents and a positive environment overall?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think you're spot on with the inevitability of coaches that have good relationships with parents and have established trust with their parents will create a sideline that's more trust-filled, and therefore there's less stress and there'll be less parent-referee interactions and that negative interactions. And that I think is related to a coach's skill level. So I would say that some strategies that we're having with coaches, I mean, it has to start, I kind of alluded to this earlier, with coaches trusting themselves. And what does self-trust look like? And does a coach believe in their ability to impact the lives of children and to teach them to become a better soccer player? Does a coach feel confident in their ability to interact with parents with the appropriate boundaries? And I think coaches setting a framework early for what the team culture will look like is essential. I do believe, to be clear, that clubs are the ones that need to be leading here. Clubs need to be educating the coaches on these topics. And I don't call these, a lot of people call these things like soft skills. These are the essential skills of coaching, and they do not get addressed enough, especially in a youth sports space that is stressful. It requires all the more coaches be educated on these types of topics around establishing appropriate relationships, connections, moments, have those moments with parents. So yeah, I mean, our course, Parent Engagement for Coaches, like I said, is a 60-minute deep dive into best practices related to how to establish those types of relationships with parents. I think every coach needs to have a parent meeting and run that parent meeting really effectively. There need to be follow-up interactions and moments of connection throughout the season, whichever, not necessarily like long emails from coaches every week. It doesn't have to be that, whatever the coach is up for. They need to come up with a communication plan. And then we need to have a plan for what are we going to do when this gets tough? What are we going to do when we lose 3 games? What are we going to do when we just traveled to a tournament and we got put in the wrong bracket and we lost every game by more than 5 goals? How are we going to show up in those moments? And so we need to have some training and education, because if you talk about a 22-year-old who's new to coaching and is and coaching at a tournament and their team falls into that bracket, that coach needs skills and support in those moments. And just like refereeing is lonely, which is why your community is so important, coaching is lonely too. So, we need to provide support and more guidance and educations to coaches around these essential skills.
I love it. Love it. Can you tell us about the Sideline Project pledge? So I've seen, as I go to games, you'll see some like signs on the side of the field, sometimes, not everywhere. It's like, hey, the kids are kids, the refs are human, all that kind of stuff, everything. But what is the Sideline Project pledge for the Soccer Parenting Project? How can parents and clubs get involved?
Yeah. So the Sideline Project pledge is a free movement that we have. You go to soccerparenting.com, you go to the Sideline Project. The Sideline Project itself is a program that sits under Soccer Parenting. It's under our soon-to-launch sports parenting brand, and it's our sideline behavior intervention, if you will. So it's a 15-minute course, coach education as well, team manager education, signage, and the pledge is a part of this. So whereas the pledge is open and accessible to anyone, you watch a 2.5-minute video and you add your name to the pledge wall, your first initial, last name to the pledge wall, and the state or country where you're from. We've had over 40,000 people take the pledge so far. Our aim is to have 100,000 people by the end of this year. And it is an initiative around honoring referees, honoring players, honoring the game, and what that looks like from a real tactical level of how we're deciding and choosing and committing to showing up as adults.
I owe you a beer, that's for sure.
I'll take
we're
it.
Together, whenever you drink a choice, could be water, soda.
It's so funny you said that, because when I started soccer parenting and I go to like the United Soccer Coaches Convention, I would have so many coaches come up to me and say just that. I am buying you.
That's right.
And it was sort of this me versus this coach, kind of not versus, but it's like, you're doing your work. And now it's, let's go get a beer and talk about parents together. Now there's such a change in the narrative of the conversation that I'm having with people. I love it. This is the needle moving. This is progress.
So I'm a big believer that you have to show people what you want to have happen, like create the world that you want to live in for that world to be. Like, you can't just say, no, what you're doing is wrong, shame on you, and then not provide a vision for the future. And I think that's what you're doing, is you're providing,
absolutely,
not only vision, but you're also providing framework. You're providing like activities. You're providing like actual things, concrete things that you can do, on a periodic basis that will lead to that place you're trying to bring people to, which is unbelievably important. And it just doesn't exist. Like, for anyone who thinks that even though a soccer club may have 10,000 kids in their program, is all of a sudden like a professional elite, like Fortune 500 company with all of the training and programs that goes into it, they're kidding themselves. It's so not like at all,
Oftentimes. I mean, some clubs are knocking it out of the park. So we got to give them some credit.
I would say the overwhelming majority.
Yeah. No, I hear you for sure. I mean, what we all are seeking is a sense of connection and community, and big picture parent engagement, when coaches do it at a team level, when organizations do it at a broader club level, it's establishing a sense of community. And that's all what we're seeking. That's what you've done with Refs Need Love. You've established a community, a place where people feel like they belong, where they have a sense of solidarity amongst one another. And we've lost that in youth sports. That's one of the big reasons youth sports is not working. We've lost it for a number of reasons, but we have to bring it back. That's what we're aiming to do. I
love that. You once shared some words, and I'd love for you to talk about it. And it really goes to what you were just saying, but bringing the world together through football. Okay. I love that. Bringing the world together through football, which, by the way, it is a global game. It is the thing that connects everyone. But I want to understand from you what that looks like in 2025, 2026, as we move into this really important year with World Cup here in the United States, what does that look like to you through the Soccer Parenting Project? What do you envision for the future?
I just got this beautiful amount of chills, just took over my whole body as I thought about the World Cup in 2026, the Men's World Cup being here, and the capacity for that. So I said I want to bring so I was on a radio show in Europe talking about a program that I was launching. I'm doing some projects right now in Northern Ireland. And the man on the show said, "So what are you trying to do?" He really done no research on me, and I'm on this live show. And so it's like, well, so he asked me that. And I said, without thinking, I just blurted out, "I'm trying to bring the world together through football." And I said that and went, "Oh, wow. That's exactly what I'm trying to do." And so I love that you found that quote for me so that I can talk about that. Some of my greatest experiences have been in football globally, have been living in Italy and playing, and the interactions and the people I met. I just took my son back to Udine where I played, and we sat and had coffee in El Centro with my coach, and a couple of the teammates took him out to lunch. And, like, this is the world. My experiences, so many experiences in England and coaching and connecting with people through Europe have been transformational for my understanding personally of how I show up to the world and where I belong within the world itself. So in one sense, it's a very broad statement around that. And that's what I just imagine the World Cup coming, having these watch parties in areas where there are not games necessarily, and having communities come together of all different types. There's this connection to football to watch a World Cup game in the center of a town where they put up a live screen TV. I love that idea. And then I love the fact that the World Cup coming to the US, we know will be a moment of inspiration for so many young children who will be new to the game. And we need to be ready and prepared with an ecosystem that supports and meets the needs of those emerging players and families that will become part of the community that truly can be an anchor for these families of how they belong within the community. What we're doing is so important and so essential to the fabric of what we consider to be how we as individuals and families show up. This is well beyond what seems like. There's this great quote, like, what seems like this can actually be this. And, what seems like parent engagement is actually bringing community together in a really powerful way, is giving families a sense of identity that they're lacking today in society. Like, these things really, really matter.
Yeah, I would tell you, I think you could literally create a college course on bringing the world together through football, because you could talk about global history and wars between countries. You could talk about economics. You could talk about cultural
gender
difference.
issues. What's going on in England right now after these women won the Euros for the second time in a row, and like the beautiful. I was at Wembley when at the finals 3 years ago when the England won, and it was just incredible. It's a life moment for me. I will never forget. I will always be like, I cannot believe I was right there. And it's just really powerful. So you're right. Absolutely, it could be a college course. That's a really good idea. I don't think I'm going to teach it, but somebody listening is. We could come up with the curriculum together. Give me a call.
It's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, I think what's going on in England is unbelievable. I mean, I said to my daughter, I were watching the game on Sunday, I think it was, for the final, and I said, I really hope the English women win. Again, just for what it will do for football all around the world, because, a lot of the center of gravity seems to be in England with Premier League, and now the Women's Super League, which is booming as well. I mean, it's just, and these women, who are on this team are just unbelievable. Not only just obviously in the way they play. I mean, they're fantastic and fierce and courageous and just resilient. They are fun. Like, they are personable and, just having a great time and so authentic, and what an amazing connection with the fans that they've had. And it is a wonderful thing that we're seeing. And it's kind of like, again, our American women, we're almost like we're spoiled by the success that we've had here in the United States and their wins back in '96 and subsequent World Cups and stuff. But what's going on in England right now is really tremendous.
Yeah,
and I think
across all of Europe, totally, to be fair. I mean, I was a part of the very first ODP trip that ever went overseas. We went to Holland and Italy my junior year in high school, and there were no girls to play. We played grown women because there just wasn't that infrastructure of a youth league. I mean, we didn't always play grown women, but in Holland we played 1 or 2 games against women that were 4 or 5 years older than us. And so to see the growth, and then for me, for my experiences playing in Italy, I mean, when I arrived, I got out of like the car with the manager of the team had picked me up from the airport, and I opened the door and I walked out. My team is sitting there meeting us. We're at a training camp in Berlin, and they're like standing on these stairs, and they all look at each other and go, "Okay, muscular." It's like, she's so muscular. And I learned so much from my short time in Italy tactically about the game, like zone defense. I had never played anything other than like straight up man-to-man with a sweeper defense before. So it was so eye-opening. So I learned so much from them, and they learned so much from me. And now look at the Italian team and the Euros and how incredibly they played. And the league now compared to the league when I was there, it's phenomenal. It's so exciting for me to see the arc that's existed from me. And yes, a lot of that is related to women in America and the framework that we set for what it looks like to be an athlete as a female, but the way that the different cultures have accepted it. I will say it's sad. Nowhere in Italy did the Gazzetta dello Sport, they had no press around the women's Euros in Italy when their team was winning. So there's still a lot of way to go, but this is how sports changes cultures, and it will continue to do so. And it's been phenomenal.
I love that. I love that. So let's come back a little bit to the Sports Parenting Project. So, I mean, you're now in this 7 years, coming into 8 years for sports parenting. You faced a lot of skepticism, I'm sure, early on. I'm sure there's a lot of people like, hey, this is not going to work. Like, how have you stayed in it? I mean, how have you gotten to this place? I mean, you went, got nothing 8 years ago. Now you've got, 40,000 people signing up on a pledge, goal for 100,000. I mean, what keeps you motivated today?
Yeah, I think it's just my deep love of the game, right? This has been just giving back to the game. And it seems like such a gift that's given to me, to be fair, that I get to be connected to so many clubs and leaders that are trying to do great things, that are under-resourced and under-supported themselves, and we're able to help and give them some support and guidance. So it's truly been a gift for me. I'm motivated by seeing the changes that we're starting to see within the ecosystem. I'm motivated by the parents and the coaches that reach out to me after taking our courses or being part of our movement and saying that things are different. My coaching this season was so much more enjoyable, or I faced these challenges as a coach, and this is how we overcame them. And it was so much easier. I didn't realize I've been thinking about this the wrong way. And thank you for changing things. Or parents, that 32% of parents that take the 15-minute Sideline Project course, 32% of parents say their relationship with their child improved as a result of taking that course. So that's impact, that's driving change. Those things keep me.
That's amazing. All right. So now let's take to our own vision board now.
Okay.
3, 5, 7 years from now, what does success look like for soccer parenting and the Soccer Parent Resource Center? What's going on in the world? Where are you, and where's youth soccer in America, or youth sports?
Yeah. So I love that you're asking that question. I'm actually in the middle of like this 1, 3, 5 year kind of project. So I've got some good answers for you. We're launching, seeking funding. I'm in an equity raise right now, seeking funding to launch into sports parenting. Sports parenting will have launched. I see a space for that to grow globally. As I mentioned, I'm doing work in Europe. I'm doing a big project right now in Northern Ireland for the Irish FA, which is the Northern Ireland Federation. I was in Australia last year speaking with New South Wales and their FA, and there's some incredible stuff going on there. And so we're starting to have a little movement building through that. And I'm doing a project right now with continuing education for the German Federation. So there's just a lot of exciting things going on. I see this building globally. Sports is something that brings everyone together. And so I'm really excited to see where we are. I hope at that point, 5 years from now, that parents are required to take a course upon signing their child up for youth sports. I want that course to be one that is quick and easy for parents to digest, but sets the standard. And I think that coaches will be certified. So we'll be building into these certification programs of what it means to be sports parenting certified coach or sports parenting certified parent, so that we can then put the bumpers on our behaviors and be a part of a group. That's a powerful movement to make youth sports better.
I love it, Skye. It's been fantastic. I mean, as again another person who participates in the game in the world of football, I wish you success, because if you are successful, we will be successful as referees. Speaking collectively here, coaches will be successful. Parents will have a better experience. Their relationship with their child will improve. Yeah. And I think, honestly, we will see better performance on the pitch because everyone's having that positive experience. Skye, thank you so much for being on today's pod. Thank you so much for doing what you are doing. It is so incredibly important. I want you to just take a quick moment now. Tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can learn more, and how they can sign up.
Yeah, thanks. So our soccerparenting.com is our website. You can go into the contact us page to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, Skye Eddy on LinkedIn, EDDY, SKYE, EDDY on LinkedIn. Certainly reach out to me there. We're on Twitter and the DMs are open there, or X, whatever it's called now. And certainly appreciate people being curious, seeing how they can help. I just feel like I could have talked this entire hour around referees specifically and how important you all are to the ecosystem and what a transformational moments you're consistently involved in. And so how you manage and handle them is so important. And so just a huge shout out to the referees that are listening here, of gratitude and of acknowledgement on the hard work you're doing that does not get acknowledged enough. I do believe that we need more collaboration with referees. We didn't even talk about my return to good standing course. So I'm here. I got your back. You report hostile behavior, and we've created a course that parents and coaches have to take in order to get back to the sidelines. And so we're here trying to help. And I welcome any ideas and thoughts and that anyone listening has to how we can continue to improve. Our kids deserve it. Our communities need it. And our coaches and referees, of course, need it as well.
I love it. Well, we will have to maybe have you back just to talk about return to good standing, because I've heard about that and I know how important it is. Well, Skye, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening in today. Your engagement, your involvement, your feedback, and it's what makes this community so wonderful. I really appreciate you guys. Definitely go check out soccerparenting.com. You will not be disappointed. I'm sure you're connected with a local club in your area. Send them the link to the website. Talk to them about Skye. Have them listen to this podcast. Because I got to tell you, if the clubs are healthy and the relationship between the club and the coaches and parents are healthy, it is going to be a better experience for us referees on the pitch. Last thing, guys, of course, always a reminder, go check out the refsneedlove2.com store. The store, the season is approaching. Go get yourself some new red and yellow cards with the pregame checklist on the back, maybe some swag, you name it. Go check it out. Again, everything gets poured back into making this channel possible. I love you all, and I hope your next match is red card free.